Okay, these are some really fascinating Men in Black encounters. And I know a lot of people think that Men in Black are only related to the UFO topic, but that's not true at all. These are people reporting encounters with these Men in Black, these secret shadow government, deep state, cabal, black ops type fixers, these mysterious agencies that come in and take care of these problems and cover up these problems and all of that kind of thing. There's often a lot of technology, like high tech weaponry and stuff involved, sort of like the movies, the Men in Black movies, how they have all this technology to when they're chasing down these alien races and stuff. The regular population isn't privy to. Now, none of these encounters include any like mind erasing pins or anything like that, like from the movies, but they do include technology. And what makes it fascinating to me is that these five or six encounters that I'm playing the clips from, they were from Pennsylvania, New York, Florida, Ohio, Kentucky, and places all around our country. And they range from, say, the 1970s up till just a month or two ago. And if you listen closely, you can see that they're all telling the same story. All these people who don't know each other from different states, from different decades, they're all telling the same story. Particularly with the cynocephaly, you can see that, which we call dogmen now. They used to be called werewolves in ancient Egypt, Anubis, the dog-headed men, and all of this type of thing. But in the modern times now, people see them all the time, and we just call them dogmen. And listen to these people's accounts with the Men in Black. They both report them showing up with the same type of high frequency technology that the humans couldn't hear. But both of these two eyewitnesses to these cryptid creatures, they both had dogs. One had a dog in his yard. The other one had a dog in his truck. One was in a state park. One incident happened at the other guy's home. But anyway, they both had dogs around. And when these Men in Black or this secret agency showed up to handle the situation, both of their dogs were crippled, were just, just fell down in a ball and were foaming at the mouth and screaming in pain and stuff. And that's because they were using some type of high frequency technology that the dogs could hear, but the people couldn't. So anyway, there's just little things like that, details to the stories that make them so believable because all of these people over different eras who didn't know each other and had these experiences, they pretty much all tell the same story. These agencies are real. And these hybrid humanoid cryptid creatures are real too. They're the Nephilim. The Bible talks openly about them. It talks about these hybrid races, the Nephilim, not just giants. I know we focus on giants a lot as the Nephilim or the Raphaim, the humanoid hybrid races. But so if you haven't been exposed to a lot of the other races besides like the UFO quote unquote alien races that are demon spawn too, the other races, if you haven't been exposed to them, here's some videos. I have a whole playlist on the Nephilim. This five shocking things you never knew were in the Bible. That's probably the place to start. In that 15-minute video, I cover, I don't know, 4 or 5 different races. I go through the DNA, tracking the DNA in the human gene pool, historical documents, archaeological finds, stuff like that. And it goes through several of the races. And then I go down, I have some that specialize in all the different, like here's Goat Man. They were called satyrs, obviously, and in the Bible, they're recorded. Satyrs are in the Bible. Satyrs were talking to Job in the book of Job, and now we have sightings of them, like the Poplik monster, the Kentucky monster, and we call him Goat Man. But think about it, what is a Goat Man? It's a satyr, right? So we still see them today. And then, of course, Bigfoot, Esau was the hair-covered man and all of that, and his descendants. And these are modern dinosaur and dragon sightings, so those aren't really humanoid. But it's just this whole scenario that everything you've been told is a lie. The Vatican and during the Crusades, the Roman Church, the Vatican went around during the Crusades and they tried to destroy all of the records, gather up all of the artifacts and put them in the Vatican archive and the vaults. And every civilization that they came across and conquered, they would destroy all of their records. But you can't cover up all of history in this world. So the rest of it that's left over that we see with our own eyes, they're just like, oh no, that's mythology. Oh, the records of the first Earth age. Oh no, no, it's just mythology. Oh, the giant bones that you recovered? Oh, yeah, those are dinosaurs. Oh, no, there's no such thing as the mythological giant lizards. Oh, but oh, yeah, those are just dinosaur bones. And people just, they're like, I just can't even believe it. They can't see with their own eyes. Anyway, then here's the giant in Afghanistan that the military fought. And then, if you get past that, then there's this biggest secret hidden in plain sight series. And there's 4, 5, 6 videos in that talking about the peace treaty that we struck up with the Nephilim races and all kinds of stuff like that. But the point is, they're real. Most of the dogmen encounters in modern times are more dog than men, although they are bipedal. But you'll see most of the depictions of cynocephalus from ancient times and Middle Ages, they're more human than dog. They just have the dog features on the head. And you can see that many of these Nephilim races, these Gentile races, were saved. You'll see several saints depicted from the cynocephalus races. In fact, all through the Middle Ages and stuff, the records talk about tribes of cynocephaly that traded with humans. They had specific, some of them made silk, some that they actually had commerce and trade with humans or Hebrews. Although they definitely were recorded even during that time to be fierce warrior types. Like they had a personality type that people knew how to deal with and keep their distance from. But there were still tribes of them living on the surface of the earth, known to all ethnicities of humankind. And I think a lot of people who don't understand the Old Testament and a lot of the translations that have taken, have translated this stuff out or glossed it over because they didn't want to translate it to say dogman. But the Bible talks about, like when they went into some battles, God would instruct the leaders, okay, take all of the tribesmen down to the river, and those of humankind who use their hands, who dip down in the water and cup their hands and drink that way, set them aside. And those who lap up water like a dog, those are your fierce warriors. Take those into battle. And the Bible translates precisely to say the lion people of Moab. And it talks about them, even when it talks about the story of Boaz, it talks about her laying at his feet like a pet and stuff. That there's all of this stuff is in there, but because people don't understand the Nephilim, they'll give you giants now. I think we're breaking through a little bit. The Great Awakening is happening, and people are starting to admit that the giants in the Bible are literal, that they were literal giants. And they can hear accounts like the 12 to 15 foot Kandahar giant that American troops stumbled upon in a cave in Afghanistan and had to battle. They can look at that, and probably more than half of the people can accept that. But as far as this kind of thing, the cynocephaly and the descendants of Anubis, and it's a little harder for them to accept. And I get that, but I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to tell you the truth. And those who have ears to hear, hear it. And those who don't, someday you will. And part of that is obviously because of the propaganda. You just don't hear these encounters. Everybody thinks, oh gosh, it would be so rare that somebody would see something like this. And no, people see them all the time. People see them last month. People see them last week. People see them all the time. And even shows on the mainstream like History's Mysteries and shows like that on the History Channel. I think they've had one dogman encounter, one tribe or one pack of 4, 5, 6 dogman came up on a ranch or something like that. They put in one episode of their many seasons of everything. But I just want to show you this. This is Dogman Encounters Radio. Vic does a great job. I mean, look at this. The encounters are endless. It's just nonstop. Encounter after encounter after encounter after encounter. It's like the Patterson tape of Bigfoot. It kind of makes you think that, oh, like one Bigfoot was seen one time and, so does it exist or does it not? And it's like, what? People have always seen Bigfoot. They're called the Yowie in Australia, the abominable snowman in Russia, Sasquatch by the Native Americans. People see him in the swamps of Louisiana. People see him in Florida. People see him out in California and Oregon. And, people see him all the time everywhere. There's a gazillion encounters, people giving their testimonies online. So people think this is rare, and it's just never ceases to amaze me how they're able to hide secrets in plain sight. Like we see all this stuff with our own eyes. Everybody Everybody sees it, and yet because they told us, because the powers that be told us they don't exist, we're willing to just dismiss or pretend that this is part of our world. These are creatures in our world, and people see them every day, but we're just, I don't know, people are so brainwashed. They just refuse to listen to other humans. And then people self-censor because they don't want to be made out to be the village idiot, or, you know, just read some of the comments on my channel and see how abusive people are. They're just brutal, absolutely brutal. So, I mean, I'm not going to self-censor. I'm just going to tell you the truth. This is the truth. These are all my brothers and sisters here. And these aren't young kids wanting attention, 16, 17-year-old kids. I got a story. I got a story. No, these are like 75-year-old grandmas sitting in a rocking chair trying to tell their story on here, and their voice just cracking and them having to take a break because they're so traumatized by what they saw when they were 9 years old walking to school. You know, these are real people telling their real stories. So, you know, I suggest you go all the way back, hundreds of episodes back to the first episodes, and listen to some of these people. There's no doubt these people are telling the truth. Anyway, I'm going to get to it. I will put the links below. These are coming from here, Dogman Encounters Radio. Vic does a great job. One's from Brent and Salwin's channel, Mysteries to Solve. He's a Christian brother, wonderful man. And a couple of them are from Oklahoma Cryptid Brothers Investigations. They do investigations outside of Oklahoma, but they're the Cryptid Brothers. Also, wonderful Christian family who started it up because they themselves had an encounter, and they thought there was a need for this type of thing, especially, you know, to help people understand how both can be true. How can cryptids be true and the Bible be true too? Anyway, this video is specifically clips about the Men in Black encounters surrounding these cryptid encounters. So it'll be clips about that. If you want to hear the full stories of the actual creatures, I mean, there's a little bit of that in this video, but they go into depth. If you want to go into depth and hear the full stories of what they encountered creature-wise, the links to the full videos of the full encounters and the interviews will be down below in the description box, and I encourage you to check those out because they're fascinating.
And she said, something's going on with you. You need to tell me the truth. What did you see in those woods the other night? And I said, okay, you're not going to believe this. And I sat down and I went through what I had told her, just as I had told you, and it scared her. I left out some details, that's for sure. But I explained to her what it was, and I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't want you going outside. I don't know what to do yet. And she said, you need to call the police. And I said, honey, the police aren't going to do anything. They're going to look at me like I'm an idiot. They're going to tell me to lay off the weed or something. They're going to tell me to lay off the drinks. I don't know what they're going to say. So finally, a little more time went by, and I thought, you know what? I am going to call the police. I'm going to go through, and I'm just going to let them know I've got something in the woods, some type of rabid dog. I think that's what I'll go with, I said. So I call him up, and I say, this is what's going on, to at least get him to come out. So Kiowa County Sheriff shows up. It's a small town, so I know him personally. He shows up. I explain to him, you know, this is what's going on. He comes over with a couple of DEC officers. They pull in the driveway. I say, hey, how you doing? And he goes, not much, Brandon. I mean, like I said, small town, first name basis. He said, what exactly is going on? And I said, can I talk to you privately for a minute, please? And he said, of course. And he told the DEC guys, who I've never met or seen before, you know, hang out there for a minute. And I pulled him aside and I said, listen, I had an incident with Gino the other night. And I sat down and explained to him, and I said, what I'm about to tell you, you got to promise me that you actually look into it and you believe me. And my reputation of I'm not a big drinker. I stay away from any of that type of stuff, really. I don't mind a few beers once in a while. Nothing wrong with that. But I like to stay in control. I like to know what's going on around me. And I've built my reputation on being able to be heard and understood and believed. And this was just completely out of character for me to be able to explain. But I did. And as I'm explaining to him what it was, he believed everything, and he was straightforward with me, and I was straightforward with him. And everything was fine up until the point when I started explaining what this creature looked like. And I saw the blood drain out of his face, just like I did Gene's that night when we shined the spotlight on him. And as he's writing notes about what it is that took place, he stopped. And he went from comfortable to uncomfortable, and I mean real quick, Vic. He closed his little book, and he looked at me, and he said, "Are you sure that's what you saw?" And I said, "I'm 100% positive." And he goes, "All right, sit tight." And he goes back to his vehicle, and he makes a phone call, and he comes back, and he says, "I think we can have this dealt with." He said, "I'm going to come back tomorrow, and we'll do something a little bit further on this." And I said, "What's going to happen? You know, how are we going to deal with this?" And he said, "I'm not sure." And it looked like he had known what it was that was going on, because he obviously was familiar with a scenario that's similar to this. He called somebody. You know, I could see the look in his face. He was terrified as well. Maybe he was reliving a situation that he got into, an encounter he got into. I don't know. I can only speculate on what was going through his head. But I knew that he was familiar with what it was that I had spoke to him. So he makes the phone call. Fast forward to the next day here. Nothing else happened that night. I don't hear any more screams, nothing. Now, we get to the next day here, and the sheriff pops back over. Now, he's got this van or big enclosed truck thing with him, all black. And he's got this guy with him. He pulls in front. The other vehicle, this big bulky looking thing, pulls in behind him. And I see him on the cameras, because I got cameras all around the house. And when you pull in the driveway, it's got sensors on each side so that you can hear the ding inside the house and know that someone's pulling in the driveway. And I see the cameras. I see these vehicles, and I'm like, okay, they're here back again to deal with this incident. I'm like, perfect. I said, "I'll be back in, honey. I'm going to go handle this." So I go out. He comes out and says, "Hey, this is so-and-so." I don't even remember at the time. I was just completely distraught because his outfit looked like some type of military uniform or some type of military unit. But I'd never seen any of the badges on there. There wasn't any writing. It was just this weird symbol of a badge on there. It wasn't anything that I was familiar with. And I shook his hand, and he said, "You're Brandon?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Run by me again exactly what had happened." So I took a couple minutes, and I explained to him in general what it was that was going on. At that point, I can see he's got a pistol on his hip. And at that point, he motions over this wave or whatever, and I look over. Now, 5 more of the same type of people, the same type of outfits, gets out of this black van truck thing. Now, as they get out, they all have pistols on, and they have these strapped, what looks like some type of smaller machine gun, SMG, maybe even fully automatic firearm hanging around their neck. And I mean, these guys are some type of professionals here, some type of government professionals. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I'm very familiar with all the military outfits and uniforms. I've never seen this. So they come out, and they come up, and he goes back over and talks to him, and now my wife's coming out, and she's going, "What the hell is this? What is going on?" And I said, "Go back inside for a minute. I'm not sure yet." And I talked to the sheriff, and I said, what's going on here? I said, what is this? And he goes, they'll handle it. They know what to do. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've got a lot of questions right now. I don't know who these people are. What's going to go on? Are they going on a hunt for this thing right now? That's all I can think of. They're strapped up like they're going to World War III. You know, so they come back over. He said something to them quick there. I don't know what it was. And they come back over, and he has me explain the area where they went, where I went, down into the woods. And as they start heading over that way, I see them. They have this, one of them has this, it looks like a satellite disc with a smaller satellite disc in the middle. The wider one's about 1.5 feet long. The other one that's inside of that one, the other cone part, is only about 5, maybe 4 inches long. So I'm looking at this thing, and I'm thinking, what is that little device? Maybe a loudspeaker or something. What are they going to do? Yell for this thing in the woods? Or maybe they're going to yell to each other. I don't know. But as soon as he puts it out in front of him, I'm in the middle of a conversation that I can't even tell you what it was about at the moment now that I come back and think of it. But I was just so distracted because he points this thing out in front of him. It looks like it's got a hand grip and a trigger on it. And he hits this thing, and my dog, I've got a year-old pit bull, about 90 pounds, big girl, Maya, very healthy, never had any problems with her, spent a lot of time with her in and out of the woods. She's trained like you wouldn't believe, never have any issues. I look over and I see her quizzed up in a ball, shaking like she's having a seizure. I don't know what's going on with her. She's whimpering and crying and screaming. She can't even get up. And I'm thinking, hey, whoa, what's going on here? Why is my dog doing this? And as soon as I had yelled over to that, they had this thing sticking out in front of them, pointing towards the woods. They put it back down. And as soon as they put that device back down, Maya stood up. She stopped doing the seizure thing and crying, and she came right over to me and sat next to me. She was scared, nervous. I didn't know what happened. I'm sure she didn't know what happened to her. And I'm yelling over, hey, what was that? What is that thing? What are you guys doing right now? And he said, we'll be back up shortly to have a conversation with you in a minute. And I'm looking over at the sheriff, and I'm shaking my head with wide eyes like, what the is going on here, man? What was this? Did you just see what this did to my dog? So they go out, and they come back a couple hours later, maybe two to 3.5 hours later. Now, the sheriff's gone at this point. He told me basically that I was in good hands and they'll take care of it. But he never really discusses anything or reveals any information about this creature that he's familiar with or anything. It's kind of a quick hi and bye. I'm handing this off to them. Now, these got to be some type of government people because I've never seen this outfit, as I said before, and they had some type of devices and things that I'm not familiar with. It did something, some type of sound wave or some type of energy that came out of that thing that put my dog into a mess. I didn't hear it and I didn't feel it. It must be something only that animals or dogs can hear. I'm not sure. I'm speculating on that. So they come back about 2.5, 3 hours later, and they knock on the door. I see them walking back up in the cameras because originally when they had gone to leave, they jumped back in the vehicle after they pointed that thing out into the woods. They went back in the vehicle and they drove it down the dirt road. So they come back. I see them pulling back up, and I said, so what's going on here? What did we figure out, guys? And the other 4 are over in the woods. They got a couple bags with them, I see, too. So they're over near their van, and I'm talking to this guy, and I said, well, what outfit are you guys with? And he ignored my question, and he said, I got to ask you a couple questions. And I said, okay. So we ran through some things, and a couple of these questions that he asked were, did you take any pictures that day? And I said, no, it was the middle of the night pretty much. It was 8:30, 9:30 at night. And he said, are you sure? And I said, yes, I am. And he goes, okay. And before he had left, he had asked about the deer cams and things before they had went in the woods, and I told him that I got about 30 out there. And he goes, okay. So we went through a conversation of asking if I had what I had come to realize, any physical proof of this creature, which he obviously didn't want me to have. And, I'm no dummy here. I could see that they were looking to see if there was any type of proof of anything, and they wanted it in their possession. Now, come to find out, they go to leave. They say that they'll talk to me, shortly. We'll make sure that we get in contact with you. As for right now, you should be all set. And I said, what does that mean, all set? I have a lot of questions here. I need to know what it is that's going on, and I need to know right now. I'm concerned about my well-being, my family's well-being, and all of my free time is spent in the woods. I can't even go back in there right now unless I know what it is that's going on. I need some answers. And he said, we need to look a little further into this, and we'll get back in touch with you. For right now, you're all right. Just sit tight. And I said, okay, I don't know what that means, but I'm trying to get more out of him. He won't give it to me. And I want to know who these guys are and what it is that's going on. They're obviously on my team, but they're hiding something. Because to ask if I had anything, if I have this, I have that, they wanted possession of it. So next couple of days, I get the courage to go out, and I end up going out there all strapped up like some type of army vet. I get out there, and there's a couple of the deer cams that I've got next to the edge of the woods. Now, I can see the dogs going back outside. I can see over the next day that the cows are back up next to the edge of the woods. And I'm thinking, okay, I feel a little bit safer. And obviously, daylight, because you can see what your surroundings are, you feel a little bit safer. It's important to always be aware of your surroundings, especially with finding out that there's more creatures than you originally knew were on this planet. So I get out. There's a couple deer cams close to the line of the edge of the field and the hedgerow, and I don't want to go too deep in there. I'm not ready for that yet. But I pop a couple of them open, and wouldn't you know it, all the SD cards are gone. Every one that I had checked on the edge of the woods. Now, I have to check the other 20-something but I can bet you any amount of money. Okay, I'll bet you my favorite fishing pole that all of them are gone too. There is no way that they said to me, do you have any deer cams? How many? And all of a sudden all the SD cards are gone. Let's get real here, guy. There's no way.
We're sitting there, and this thing is doing, getting excited, and then it turns and looks right at us. I mean, it looks right at us, and it's got like a surprise face looking at the kids doing this. And when it looked at us, it kind of got a little mean face, like, like, roar, like kind of, you know what I'm saying? And then the kids hit it again, and it turned away from us, like, forget you, man. We went in the middle of the truck. I'm not getting out of the truck. I mean, I'm sitting there, but I'm thinking, hey, is it the pinata? Is it this pinata, or is this thing wanting to kill? I'm getting concerned about it. So I take my phone, and wait till he comes out. I'm taking pictures. I mean, I'm taking a pictures that is perfect. No doubt, no. So there's no doubt. There's no nothing. All right. So we're sitting there, and I see a black truck. A black it's not a Chevy. It's a Blazer.
Okay.
I seen a black Blazer go by, and JT says, Richard, I've seen them here all week. I said, what do you mean you've seen them there all week? He goes, that truck, there's a couple of them here. I said, oh. Well, when they went by, I noticed the guy was looking at us real funny, and I thought, I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm in a state park. I'm pulled over to the side. And then another one come by, and it was a lady in it. Two different people, windows down, looking right at us. So I've got a bird dog with me, buddy, and the truck come back around. I seen it disappear, and it turned around right around the curve, and it come back to us. And I'm fixing to get out and say something to these people, like I'm getting concerned right now. Well, when the truck comes back up there, my dog starts like hollering and shaking his head and hollering, and this thing drops the limb and books. I mean, books. I'm thinking, what the hell? What's this? Why is my dog? I mean, it's kind of like hurting. Like my dog's hurting. Something's wrong with his head. He's shaking his head and he's kind of hurting. He's whining real bad. I'm sitting right here with my dog right now, and I'm thinking, what the hell? What's going on? And the guy pulls up beside us and gets out and says, he needed to see my identification, my ID. I said, for what? Well, you're messing with an investigation. So I'm thinking, okay, there must be one of these Mexicans' dads or somebody here. I didn't want to say nothing to this guy, but, I just didn't want him to think I was an idiot. So I didn't want to say nothing to this guy.
Right.
Because you don't say stuff to people that think you're idiots. I've done been through this. So JT is there. I said, man, you need to get some pictures. You need to get some pictures. He's been with the state park I know he's been there for over 9 years. And he does the garbage cleanup. This is the reason I'm in there, because he's told me about this. But he says, this is what I've seen. This is what I've seen, but I've only seen shadows of this big thing. I thought it was a vagrant out here. But it wasn't. It was this, I don't know what you want to call it. It's something that's grilled dog, or I don't know what it is. But what happens next is I back up. I back into the turnaround. I go back to the entry of the gate, and we pull in. As soon as we get there, the guy, he's got my ID. I'm going to get my ID. I had to go up there, get away from there, follow him. I'm thinking, okay, some of them the bad people there, I guess. That's what's going on. And as we're driving up there, JT says, hey, what does he mean investigation? These people ain't here every day. I'm here. I've never seen these people in my life. But maybe they follow the people there. We're just making this in our head. It's it's a couple miles. It wasn't far. I said, well, we're fixing to find out anyway. So we get there, and he says, you got to, what's in between your seats there? I said, it's my laptop. He goes, I need to have that, please.
What?
I says, No, I said, where's my laptop? What do you mean? You need to talk to me before I give you anything else. Give me my ID back, matter of fact. You know, I'm getting a little aggravated with this guy. Well, I'm sitting there running, jawing with him, and then the lady comes back, and then my dog starts that screaming and stuff, and I'm thinking, what the hell? If you put your hands over your ears and hum, that's what I got when her vehicle pulled up again.
Oh, I know what's going on. Yeah, go ahead.
That's all I can tell you. And when she reached up and shut whatever, my dog stopped. I mean, my dog's dripping, my dog's foaming at the mouth and everything. This is not cool. You know, so I know what's going on in the vehicle. Something's in there, something to do with the vehicle. I don't know what.
Yeah, I've heard about this, but go ahead.
Okay, I've never heard about none of it. I'm dumb to all this. So, but anyways, what happened is he's got my phone now. He's trying to get my laptop because it's a picture. I can take pictures of it with it, but I did not do anything with it. I never even grabbed it. I was going to, but I didn't grab it. But I'm not thinking any of this at this time. I'm thinking I've done something wrong by parked there they're after these Mexican guys or women or whatever. I'm thinking they're in drugs, something stupid, I'm thinking.
Right.
So he takes my phone and he's trying to get my man. Listen, you're not getting nothing else from me but handcuffs on me because we're fixing to roll around here. You're not just, who are you and what do you want with me? I told him who I was and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, there's nothing, I've done nothing wrong. I don't do stuff wrong. So you're in the wrong field, buddy. You're at the wrong person right now. He took my phone and they took my SIMS card out of my phone and give me my phone back. Took my SIMS card out of my phone.
Right in front of you?
No, with their backs to me. They stepped by the thing like they was reading, like they was looking something up on me, and they wasn't looking nothing up on me because there's nothing to look up on me.
He wanted your photos. He wanted all your contacts and who you've been.
He got all of my stuff, took it, and then when they handed me my phone back, it was off, and I thought, what's off? And I pushed it on, and it come on, and it said, no SIM, or no FM, no, it meant it's no SIM card, what it meant. FM or IM or something. It come up with a thing on it. I said, what the hell is this? You know, what's going on? I tried to it didn't have none of my stuff in it. Nothing. So at that time, I said, hey, I don't know what you do with my phone, but you better fix my phone. I mean, I'm coming strong. Then they pull the little things out of their shirt and drop it down and said, listen, no one would believe anything you would have to say anyways, so why do you want to go any further with this? And then it just dawned on me, he's got my phone. Is this what this is about? I said, is this what this is about? This what I was doing with my camera? He goes, don't play dumb. Well, how else would I play? I don't even know what you're talking about, you goof. I mean, it's off the wall with this. This is in the middle of the day. What are these people doing? What are they doing?
Well, did your buddy have any insight to give you on this as well?
Yeah, he lost his job.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was fired Monday morning. I mean, this guy's going to retire any time. He worked for Williams Garbage Disposal for years. That was my grandpa. That's how I even knew the man. A good man. He's never done. This guy wouldn't hurt a fly.
Well, see,
and he was just telling me what he done. He showed me. That's all. This is how this all come about to begin with.
Well, see, this is what they use. They don't care how good of a person is. All they care about is threatening you.
And so I'm up for like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, and I'm on the Parkway by 5. And I'm getting on the Parkway, and I'm cruising. I'm just getting on the Parkway, and there's no one on the Parkway but me at that time, especially this far north. Once you get to the city, you get more traffic. But I'm driving on the Parkway, and I see 4 golf ball size orange eyeballs coming out of the wood line off the Parkway. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm looking at these things, and they look like they're at least 7 feet tall from where I'm sitting in my Jeep on the parkway. So I start to slow down to get a better look. And like I said, I'm the only person on the parkway. I pull over into the emergency lane to get a better look, and I roll down the windows on the Jeep because the windows are tinted. And I'm looking at these things, and I'm judging them by where their heads are underneath the trees, where the tree line is cut. And they're in a meadow off to my right of my parkway, off to the parkway. And they're coming out, and they look like they're walking bipedally. And I'm thinking, you know, it must be like Sasquatches or something coming out of the woods. And I don't, you know, and I know these area pretty good behind the woods that they're coming out of. I didn't think that, there was that much woods back there because there's a middle school back there, a town hall is back there. So I really didn't think there was that much woods back there. So anyway, as these things are walking out, I can see their heads are like going up and down, like a dog's head would go when the dog walks. So I'm looking at these things, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm looking at. And all of a sudden, they both stop, and they look at me. Now they're looking directly at me, and it's almost like I'm being hypnotized by these things. And then they start running towards me. Now I know this area off the side of the park where this meadow, there's a lot of deers that are up there in the morning grazing and stuff like that. And also these things are starting to run at me, and they're running, but they're running on bipedally, and the heads are bouncing up and down, you know, just like a dog's head would do when the dog walks. And I'm thinking, holy crap, these things are coming after me. So I'm thinking maybe I should close the window and get the hell out of here. And just as I'm closing the window, they drop down to all fours, and they stop running. And all of a sudden, it's like they picked up a deer scent or a scent trail or something, and their heads go down like a dog who's I had a German Shepherd, and when he got on a scent trail, he was locked in. And that's what these things were like. They were locked in. And they start running north up the parkway. And they must, like I said, they must have caught a scent trail. At that point, I just punched the Jeep out, and I left. And I really didn't tell anybody about it, except for one of the guys on my team, my tech guy, Brian. And I called Brian, and I said, dude, you're not going to believe what I seen this morning. It was absolutely out of this world, you know. So he says, oh, you know, you got to go back and you got to check it out. And I said, yeah, you know, I'll go back. But I didn't go back that night. When I got home that night, on my way home, I looked across the parkway because it's wide open, you know, and I could see that on the other side of the parkway there was an old 4x4, like an old Ford Bronco or something like that from the 90s or something, or early 2000s, that's sitting on the grass. And I didn't think much of it because I figured, you know, maybe it's bow season. I don't really know when bow season starts because I'm not a hunter, but I know that there's always cars parked on the side of the parkway during bow season, and these guys go in the woods and they hunt. So I'm thinking it's just a bow hunter. Next morning I get on the parkway, and I go, and I'm coming to work, and that truck is still there. And I'm thinking, wow, this truck has been here all night. And I slow down to get a good look at its plates, and I noticed on the plates it said DEC, which is the Department of Environmental Conservation Officer. So I'm thinking, oh, the Department of Environmental Conservation is here, but I'm not seeing anybody go to the truck. I'm not seeing anybody leave the truck. I don't see anybody in the truck. I'm saying, where the hell are they? Because now this truck has been here for a while. So I go to work, and again, I come home, and the truck is still in the same spot. So now it's got my curiosity. So I get back on the parkway, and I can get off the parkway right after I pass this little section that I can take the back roads to my house. I go by again, and I'm looking into the wood line. And the wood, like I said, the wood line right there is not that big, maybe 100 yards wide. You know, of course, it stretches for miles, but it's only about 100 yards wide. And it was definitely in the fall because there wasn't any leaves on the tree. So it may have even been early October or something like that. So I called Brian up. I called my boy Brian up, and I said, "Hey, Brian, you're never going to believe this. There's a DEC truck parked there for 2 days." And he's like, "Oh, you got to go back. You got to go check it out." So I said, "Okay, you know what? Over the weekend, I'll go check it out." So then next day I go back to work, and the truck is still in the same spot. Hasn't moved in 3 days. That was a Friday. So I come home from work, the truck's still in the same spot. Again, you never see anybody in or out of the truck. You never see anybody around the truck. Saturday comes, I go to work. Now the Bronco is gone, but now there's a Ford like F10 or something like that, sitting in the same spot. But this one has got all the decals on it, and this one says the Environmental Protection Environmental EPA or something like that, Environmental Protection Agency on it, and it's got the decals. And I'm thinking, okay, first the DEC was here, now the EPA is here. What the hell's going on? And again, Saturday I come home from work, the pickup is still, and this one is green. It's got like all the logos on it. And I'm saying, okay, so I tell Brian about it, and Brian's like, well, obviously there's people in those woods. You know, maybe somebody is camped out. Maybe they're hunting these things. Something is going on. You got to go check it out. So I said, okay. Sunday rolls around. I jump in my Jeep, and I go there, and I pull off to the side of the road, and I go in. I said, okay, you know, I know these woods are not that deep, but now the truck is actually gone. The Environmental Protection Agency truck is not there. But I go in the woods, and I start walking through the woods just to see how there could be something that big lurking in this area, you know. And
Okay, now this next clip about the raptors, just hang in there. It's actually about this underground tunnel system and how that there are different species of Nephilim, some of them, you know, evil aliens and some of them good aliens, and the wars and stuff that happen in these underground tunnels. And if you're a follower of my channel, you know, like here's a video I did on that exact thing about this administration and all this QAnon stuff, all this stuff's going on, is that they're clearing these tunnels, that there's war going on beneath our feet. So this video, mystery booms, strange sounds being heard, worldwide solved, and all of that. So this one right here, please watch that, because it's not about a bunch of raptors or anything. It's about our U.S. military clearing these tunnels that are used for human trafficking and all of this other stuff. But it does touch on like Phil Schneider, when they said when he was tunneling for the military and they accidentally tunneled into a pre-existing ancient civilization, and there were these alien greys in there back in the 1970s, and that, you know, they went to war, and you know, Green Berets were lost and all of that. So, you know, we did touch on what he's saying right here, you know, and Philip Schneider said the same thing, not about raptors, but, you know, essentially the same thing. And then I did a more recent video on it. Here we go. New November 2017, mysterious booms being heard. And it's got the layout, it's got the map there with the layout of the underground tunnels and train systems and how they go across America. Please go and check those out. This one down here, actually, I juxtaposed the tapes of these sounds. Now, I'm not talking about the weird mechanical trumpets in the air, not those. These are actual explosions and gunfire being heard, shaking houses everywhere. And so this has the news clips and the actual footage of these sounds. It sounds like war. And I juxtaposed them against news footage of actual war, like from Iraq. And you can tell it's the exact same sounds. And people are hearing it all over America under their feet. So if you can get past this raptor graphic thing and listen to what he's saying that there are underground bases, FEMA camps, underground FEMA tunnels and FEMA bases that were supposed to be turned over to new leaders in these secret services and stuff like that when the new president took office. And there was a rogue element in the tunnels that locked them out. And so a war took place not between aliens and humans. A war took place underground between rogue CIA or rogue intelligence agencies and FEMA groups and cabal groups and this group of white hats, this group of good guys that were in these intelligence communities and in the Marines and in the military and in the, all these different agencies. So even though this graphic is about these raptors, listen to what he says, because he's talking about a war underground for these FEMA camps between rogue elements of the government and good elements of the government.
Well, the raptors were remnants of the dinosaurs, and they went underground to survive, and they're sort of a proto-dinosaur bird. They have plumes of feathers on them. They have real jerky movements. They're super fast, and they're carnivorous. So the incident that I was talking about that involved the Marines was not long ago, after the current president took over. Some of the bases that were built by FEMA but not controlled by FEMA were supposed to be turned over to the new leaders of these different groups under the new president, but some of them refused and locked the doors. And Marines were sent in to basically drill holes through these walls, cut through the rebar and steel, and go in and arrest these people. And if the people refused to give up, these Marines were ordered to wipe out everyone in the base. And in one of these occasions, they had to go in, and they were under orders to wipe everyone out. And in the battle, these Marines were shocked to become face-to-face with 8-foot-tall reptilians who were fighting them. And these Marines had zero briefings that ETs even exist, let alone they would run into them and have to do battle with them. So all of a sudden, they're standing there in front of the devil or a demon with the M16 doing battle with them.
Since we're talking about clearing the tunnels and everything here, I want to make a point. A lot of people, when they talk about the Raphaim and the Nephilim and these hybrids, they think about just like the giants. You hear a lot about the Nephilim and the giants. And yes, that's one race of Nephilim or Raphaim. And you know how we, earlier on my channel, before it got taken down, I had that Kandahar giant, where the military battled that giant in Afghanistan. L.A. Marzulli has it, Steve Quayle has it, so you can still find all the footage there with them. And then, like we've talked about, Phil Schneider bumping into the Greys underground and fighting with that Nephilim race. And then now I've just put up this about these raptors and the military battling with them. There's also been a couple of, besides just in the tunnels, there's apparently a huge cover-up of all the Nephilim races. So, if you followed anything about the Bigfoot and the dogman encounters, you'll always see the same type of military cover-ups. Now, I've had a personal experience with one of these cryptids, and the same exact thing with the helicopters came in and weird stuff in the woods and shooting and all of that stuff. So I wanted to throw these two. It's just like 2-minute clips on each one, but I wanted to throw these in here because I want people to understand that the cover-up on these Nephilim races, that it's not just about giants and it's not just about alien greys, that there are lots of different cryptid humanoid hybrid races, and they're covering them all up. So anyway, here's a clip about the military and Bigfoot. They were on a marijuana farm doing a different military action, and they came across a female Bigfoot her foot was caught in a bear trap, because the marijuana farmers, they put bear traps and stuff out, to keep the thieves and the police and everybody away. And anyway, one of these cryptids, this Bigfoot, Sasquatch female, was caught in there, and her family was there surrounding her, had come to her calls. And that's when they had called in this team, and they didn't know what they were going up to battle. They thought they were going up to some sort of, drug farming operation, but they were actually brought in to take care of these cryptids. So this is on Brenton Solwin's channel, and he's got some great stories on there. So I'm just going to play this clip, and then I'll put the link below so you can go listen to the whole story. It's fascinating. It's really kind of sad. I'm not going to play it all because it's very graphic, and it's really kind of sad.
At this point, when he first said that, did you think that it was maybe people guarding the crop? Yeah, that's absolutely what I thought. I was in the commander's hatch, which is in the middle of the 113. My driver had his head stuck out of the driving, the hole there. And then we had two guys in the back where I had them open up the hatch, which is called an observer hatch. And we all had our CVCs on, which is how you communicate over, these armored vehicles are very loud. They're diesel. They go like, "Wah!" And so you have to have the CVCs on so you can talk to each other and hear each other over the noise. And so anyway, I told driver move out. So he moved out, and we pulled up there, and I said, driver, stop, turn on the lights. We turned on the lights, and I'm going to tell you something, man. I saw something that I never will forget. There was, Brenton, when you're seeing this, it takes your mind a good 30, 40 seconds to go, what is that? And then, you figure it out, and then they react, and then you react. So the helicopter's over us. They're blowing, and I'm asking them, can you back off a little? Because, he's blowing the marijuana leaves off, and it's dust coming up, and it's hard for us to see. So by that time, the Humvee had caught up to us, to the three guys in there, and then Deuce and a Half pulled up. And Deuce and a Half had the officer in charge. He was the captain. And I was the NCOIC, the non-commissioned officer in charge. So we're looking out there, and my driver goes, what the F is that? Imagine this, if you will. Right in the middle of this field, damn near in the middle, are four monsters, five really if you count the baby, that I never thought would have existed. But they were covered in hair, fur, whatever. And when we hit them with the lights, man, they were not happy at all. And state police said, go ahead and move in. And I said, what does that mean exactly? And the officer in the Deuce and a Half said, light them up, boys. And I said, roger that. So I said to the guys in the 113, I said, lock and load.
Okay, here's another one. This one was Florida, even though this is the Cryptid Brothers investigation out of Oklahoma. This particular incident happened in Florida, and it's exactly like what happened in Ohio, which was not even the one that I just played. It's really common. So these black SUVs show up, they call in these military units, and they go after these cryptids and remove them, which is exactly what this whistleblower is saying about all of the quote unquote alien races, that they have these teams weeding them out and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm only going to play about a minute or two of this hour-long story. I will put the link below. This is the part about the military coming in, but the story is about a Florida mother who shot a Bigfoot that had come up in her yard, and they had made the mistake of calling the sheriff's department and telling them, and that's when all of this started. So this picked up the next day when her neighbors their dog came up missing, and they were out in the backwoods. It was like 30 or 40 acres. Looking for the dog, but instead they got ran off of their property. They weren't even looking for Bigfoot and or anything to do with that, but because of the Bigfoot incident that had been called in, this military unit was in there, and it goes into, they recovered a body and all of this stuff. But this is, like I said, it's just a minute or so clip of them encountering these military units in there covering this up. And this is at a local level that they just called the sheriff, and then conservation came in, and then the black SUVs. And so this is nationwide, worldwide. They know all about it. The government knows all about it.
The neighbor's woods, only about 50 to 60 yards in the woods as they were walking, and they heard something at first, and then they turned and they saw, all three of them saw military soldiers with firearms walking slowly in neighbor one's woods. And my source said that there was about 10 soldiers. They were in fatigues, and they had their helmets on, and they were all carrying AR-15s. He said that neighbor one approached one of the soldiers who was kind of breaking away from the group to approach him. And neighbor one said, what are you guys doing on my property? Because neighbor one has his property posted everywhere. No hunting, no fishing. Because all of the livestock he has around his property, he doesn't He doesn't want anyone to come in there and mess with his livestock or his land. And the soldier came forward, was a sergeant. And he said, and he could tell from the patch, it was a sergeant, and he said, "We're conducting a military exercise, sir." And neighbor one said, "Not on my property. No one gave anybody authority to do that." And the sergeant said, "We can go anywhere we want, sir." And neighbor one said, "Who's in charge here?" So the sergeant said, "My lieutenant," who was up a little ways and came walking forward to neighbor one. He can see that he was talking to the sergeant. And he stepped up, and this lieutenant was a young guy. My source said he was probably about somewhere around 24, 25 in age. And he basically said he was a kind of a cocky ass, is what he said. And he spoke to my neighbor and said, he looked at neighbor one, and he said, "You either get off the property now, or we'll have to remove you from the property immediately." Then neighbor one said, "Who is your commander?" And the lieutenant didn't say a word. He said, "We will remove you if you do not leave now, sir." Now, what was very interesting, my source said, is that while they were talking to this military personnel, standing there about 50 or 60 feet into neighbor one's wood line, some of the military, there was a military-like helicopter flying overhead and through neighbor one's woods.
So anyway, I'll just stop it there. But it goes on to talk about this, them being harassed, several of the neighbors, by these, sort of typical Men in Black types that pulled up in these black Lincolns and, would basically intimidate them, just intimidation and stuff. And, then it blew over and they moved on. But these couple of clips, hopefully suffice it to say that they know about the multiple races of Nephilim. They know all about it. I'm not sure if they know who they are or if they're deceived themselves, thinking that these interdimensionals are coming from outer space, because you hear a lot of that from the whistleblowers too. They won't go as far as agreeing with the biblical narrative that instead of coming from outer space and different stars, that these quote unquote aliens are actual interdimensionals, just like the Bible talked about, these angelic beings that shifted between dimensions and stuff, that these aren't extraterrestrials, they're extra dimensionals. And, these humanoid hybrids, these cryptids, are actual humanoid hybrids. And from that contamination of the human gene pool and all of these Nephilim, Raphaim races that it talked about, not just in the Bible, but in all of the ancient quote-unquote mythologies. I mean, we know that the Cabal works with many of these alien races, and they've exchanged technologies for back engineering and all of that type of thing. So I don't know if they themselves are deceived by these demons, or if they know that they're demons and monsters and they're just monsters themselves. A lot of they're psychopaths and sociopaths, they're monsters in the Cabal. So I don't know if there are elements of you can hear like the military and people involved in this. A lot of them didn't even know what they were being sent into. So I think it's probably so compartmentalized that it's a little bit of everything. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your take on it.